Hi everyone, welcome to WTA Live. And so this would be, I think, our second episode. And well, this is another one of our pre-launch episodes. And again, WTA Live is this platform where we want to share with everyone what we do behind the scenes in our studio, how we try to develop ideas and try to change the way the city is. And today we're actually talking about some very interesting projects that we feel like have been able to change the neighborhood where we live in. So today we have, again, April behind the camera, Danny, Drew, Alexa's taking a photo. And we have the team here working on these projects. We have Fer, Job, and Monica with us today. And so today we're talking about, this area of San Juan called Little Baguio. And for us, when you look at this small barangay, what you start to see is that you start to see this proliferation of townhouses. And this is sort of like an extension of the city itself, which is San Juan basically is, centered around Green Hills. And so what's happening now is you're starting to get eerily quiet streets. So the problem with, all these townhouse developments is that they tend to be fenced off from the streetscape. And so what you get is that you get a ground plane, that's kind of like too quiet and sometimes also a bit dangerous because there's not much thing going on, nobody sees what's happening. And in many ways, it's almost like another version of what happened in New Manila. And so we kind of like thought to ourselves like, how do we expound or change, the way the urbanism of San Juan is growing? How can we make this better in a certain way? And how can we rethink, how people live? Like, how can we give a better alternative that is also more desirable for the people living in San Juan? And how can we kind of like come up with a better version, if you may, of what a townhouse is? And so looking, at the overall picture, at the macro data, you're seeing how San Juan itself, of course, is a very desirable neighborhood, a very desirable city, being the geographical center of Metro Manila. And you start to think, if people here are living in these townhouses, what other typology can we offer? How do we densify? If more and more people want to come and live in San Juan and move in, what happens? What's the next step? And so we started to figure out, how we can actually increase density by creating these medium rise structures. And so with this typology, which we've been exploring with the various iterations, we've been working on various sites. I think we're now on our fifth or sixth site. We've come up with different versions of how this works actually. But the core idea or the basic concept is this: if you have a townhouse development where you have, let's say, 10 or 15 units, or sometimes even 20 or 30 units, you have houses that are about maybe 100 square meters per floor. And then you have 3 floors, stacked one on top of each other. So you get a 300 square meter house. And then you have them kind of like right next to each other, right? And so the idea is that you have your own villa. But the reality is that you're having so much shared space, really. You're sharing the streets, you're sharing your frontages, you're sharing party walls. And we said maybe a way of making this better is if we can have 300 square meter floor plates and have them one on top of the other. And so now what you get is that you have an entire residence on each floor without any neighbors and with better security. And basically you can have it even closer, to the commercial areas where you have organic street life happening, where you have a lot of shops. And so that's a way for us to kind of like densify San Juan and densify the neighborhood. But I think more importantly is that we've also been able to show that with these different versions you can come up with very interesting architecture at this scale. The idea that the Philippines or Metro Manila doesn't have to be just 40-story high-rise towers and then single 2-story villas, but rather you can have a middle ground. You can have a gentler form of density, a milder density that will allow you to kind of like say that these units are actually much more desirable than what is typically found in the area, right? They offer better security, being in a tower. They offer better privacy because you have no neighbors listening to what you say. Um, and then you have a better view, a much better view. And of course, you have ventilation, you have the air around you on four sides, basically. So what you get is much more natural light, much better ventilation. And with that basic principles, or those basic principles, you already have a much better home, right? And you don't waste space with having a stairwell that goes up 3 floors, but rather, the entire floor is yours. All the ground area or floor area that you have or bought is actually usable. And so this is the concept we have, and today we are actually talking about 3 of these projects first. So the first kind of like prototype for this project is this building called 12 Luxury Flats. So this was the first one really, and this project has 2 commercial floors, 1 amenity, and then 12 units with 1 unit on each floor. This project was started about 6 years ago, and now it's finished. So we have these photos here of the finished building. And it's really one of the most striking buildings that you can find in the neighborhood. And I think the idea is that we wanted to emphasize how you have 1 unit on each floor by emphasizing the slabs of the balcony. So you have these like post-tension slabs that are like thinly profiled. And so the distinction of how each floor comes out, from the street level even, you can really see the intent of what we wanted to do with the building. The second iteration we did is this building called the Silhouette, and it's actually this building, right? And so the idea here was to kind of like come up with a more Manhattanist kind of like urbanity and saying like, okay, how can we kind of like use this 400 square meter plot and come up with something that's very sexy in many ways, right? And the idea that each floor is actually changing, and so you have a diversity of form, throughout the side of the building. So if you can look at the sides, the floor plates are changing, it's evolving, it's playing around. And so that in this sense, you're getting also the idea that each floor is distinct and that each floor is really a luxury in so many ways, right? And then a few other projects we're doing of this typology is that we actually did, this study of a plot in Makati and another plot in San Juan as well. This one is another property, I think in Mariano Barcos or somewhere there. We had a version where you had actually 2 units on each floor. So there's actually 24 units here. We actually did 2 office buildings of the same type. This one's near Eastwood. This one's along Shaw Boulevard. And what you see there is that you have the same type of medium density, where you have like kind of like a 15-story building. And so, it's a milder form of urbanity that we're trying to develop. Finally, I guess we're now working on this project called 15 Wilson Gardens. And so with this project, we really wanted to kind of like improve on what we've been doing and say, how can we make this typology better? And so what we're now trying to say is that if we are, living here in San Juan, one of the nicest things is that you see the greenery around you, you see the trees. But if we densify, and urbanize more of San Juan, how can we retain more of these trees? And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to build almost like a vertical garden. And so when you see each floor, the floor plate is now a bit bigger. It's now about 360 square meters. And we've made the garden terraces much bigger and wider. So when we were first starting doing 12, we had about, I think, a 3.5 meter deep balcony. And we said we wanted a balcony that was usable. It was not just a space where you go up, but rather now, what we're doing with 15 Wilson is that the terraces, you can actually plant in them. So we didn't want it to be, a balcony with potted plants, but rather we wanted it to be a real garden where you can plant trees, and then since the floors are kind of alternating, you actually see the canopy of each floor's tree on the next floor. And another iteration is that we were able to make the services or the elevators more private, wherein the elevator actually, the service elevator opens directly only to the service area. And so the privacy of the living space itself can be preserved, by closing it up, whenever you're not there. And so what we're kind of trying to say here is that we can come up with this almost like highland greenery that San Juan used to be. San Juan, of course, being a hilly area geographically. And with 15 Wilson Gardens, we're saying that this 360 square meter space is just right. Like it's just a bit bigger than what we had with 12. And now what we're looking at, of course, is that all the spaces, you don't need something more. Is that whatever more space you would want is there as it is already. So that being said, we're now going to be moving on and working on this next project that is about 670 square meters. And we're going to say what other changes that we can have here. We're back to work on these typologies that we're having, and the idea is that we're developing these like medium rise typologies. Um, the last project we worked on was a 500 square meter lot, and so for these projects, ideally you actually are looking at about 400 to 550 square meters. That would be the most efficient size property, but for this next project, we actually have a 670 square meter lot. And right now, this makes it, actually an interesting study because what we have here is we're saying that, with, a much bigger property, we can actually, maximize the space a bit more and actually could be a bit more efficient in terms of like financial viability even. Because you get much more commercial space on the ground floor, you get much more engagement on the ground floor, and you're able to make the ground plane come alive, quite a bit more. And so this is what we have right now. So we're looking at the ground floor space, and every time you kind of like look at this, right? The idea is that you have a small core for the building, and so you're saying that the rest basically is for retail, because you want it to be an activated space. You don't want the building to be kind of like just a dead or secluded building, right? And also, of course, you need the space for the ramp, to go towards the parking, whether it's parking is going up or parking is going down. We've certainly realized that parking going up or podium parking allows us to build this much faster and much more efficiently. So recently, we've been able to do that. With this plan, the thing about it is that the good thing is that you have the main street having such a wide frontage, right? And then the idea that you actually have just a very compact core here in the middle. So if this is your main street, I'm questioning the idea of what this space is actually. What's this space? What happens here?
It's just
like, why don't we just like make this a whole space or something even?
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, what's going on here really, right? Because you don't need much access there, right? And so I'm actually questioning whether this is a smaller retail space, or no, sorry, this is actually a smaller retail space. And this corner is a much bigger retail space. Because of course retail wants a corner unit. Right? So you can ask them to take in a much bigger space. Because this basically is not even like about, it's not even 100 square meters really. Or it's about 100 square meters. And then you can have like a small space here, for like a water shop or something, right? And then this space here, I would say, I would want the retail to take in the back, to continue to take in this whole back, and take in this one. Or this can be a utility area, doesn't matter. But you want the full retail space here. And even this one, right? So that being said, then they all have parking. I would want this to be parking as well, if I can, because I already have this main landscape here, right? You kind of like have this nice front. And you also have this area. So I don't know if we can actually have indoor parking here. So you already have this entire thing is landscape already. Right? I mean, they can have al fresco there or something eventually. That's kind of like not an issue. Then this one can be landscape. So that's already 2 strips there. That's kind of fine. I think you're gonna have a small like bamboo strip here or something. That's fine. But then you want this to be basically another parking slot. So in effect, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 slots, right? So these 10 slots serve 2 stores. So maybe you have like 4 each, and then 2 can be for visitors. So I think like maybe this 2 can be reserved for the visitors. And then all these is like parking for the retail. So when you go in, you have a reception. You have a waiting area. You have a lounge. Main room. Maybe this one has to have a door or something, so that these guys can access the main room. Right, go to the lobby. Go here. Toilet. So after that short musical interlude, we're still talking about this new project. Well, we don't have a name for it yet, but the idea is that now we have a 670 square meter lot, and how do we maximize this? Well, definitely we get better parking ratios since we're able to, and simply the cut of this lot is pretty nice actually. So we're here with the small core. It's very compact, so it's kind of like nice. It works well. In all essence, you get about 200 square meters of retail, which is very good already. That pays for the difference in the lot size already. So when you look up, so your parking floor. So we have a parking floor here. Okay, so I wanted a second floor commercial. So that's the one missing. I want the second floor to be commercial, and then parking to be 3rd, 4th, 5th.
Okay.
So that being said, if this were commercial, this would just go up, right? And just end up exiting here. Down. And then so you'll just flip it down on the upper floor or something like that. Or it can, you don't want to make it go down here. Because you need it longer, ne?
Yeah, the core has to move down if that
You're gonna need
happens.
it longer. Yeah, the core has to move a bit down so you can have your parking here. Right, so probably exit here. So then I get an entire commercial space here of this size, which is pretty substantial. Right, so I end up getting about 500 square meters of commercial space, which is pretty good. Right, and so now when you get to the 3rd floor parking, you're actually coming out here. And so you want what? Do we want to move the core? So that's what you have to see with the typical floor. Right. Because actually the typical floor you can move anywhere naman. No, we want it to stay here. So can we move this core? Or do we just say we make the parking go here na lang? And then you waste all this space. So you need this space, which is this. So kailangan mo bumaba ito. Right? Which means you end up here. Actually, okay lang. So wala naman laman tayo. Right? Doesn't hurt if you move it here.
Can add balconies.
No.
Your surface core would move definitely to the left.
Not
Getting
left,
that space.
down.
This chunk. Since that moved down, won't we move this left?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So your exit will be here.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's visible. Or the elevator. Because you
An
need your
L-type,
elevator
yeah.
to be here. So you're gonna have a challenge with this elevator, how we lay it out. One way is that you actually lay it out like this. Right, and I mean you still have a wall here if you want, and then this is actually your main door or something. That's okay. Because this is gonna be your main door. It's gonna be your living, whatever. Just switch it around. Right? Or this can be here also. Or the stairs are here. elevators are here, so your main door is here. So it opens to the living. Pwede. No? So this is your service core. Just a bit bigger lang. And then this one. Well, you get a smaller unit. Oh, and then you can move your toilet here. Why do you have a walk-in closet for the bedroom?
Because the rooms are too big.
So this becomes a junior suite.
Junior.
Well, I would want my master's bedroom to be bigger if I had the option. Right, if I had the... Well, this is too small.
The balcony?
The balcony is small. I would probably want to eat up more of this. I would probably want the balcony to extend a bit more. I can just extend this, I think. I'll get about 50 square meters for the balcony. And then the living area can go all the way here. I mean, so it's a clean and all that. So that means you end up eating up to here. So this becomes part of the master's. Right. And then this is the other bedroom now. So what do you think? You kind of like end up kind of like this space here. And this is the other bedroom. Right. And then this is the other bedroom. This one, definitely your toilet and whatever closet space. The bedroom can be smaller. The bedroom can be like this. This is the master suite. Well, this one can be bigger also. So I don't need this one. I can actually put it here. Kasi this is the front. You basically don't really need this balcony anyway. I don't even think it should be arranged this way. Baka dito siya. This might be a better area for the balcony actually. Something like that. Kasi the L-shaped balcony is not very useful. I think that's a better form, right? And this can be your toilets and walk-ins, whatever. This can be a walk-in, whatever. And this is the bedroom. This is an amphi, right? Like a
Anteroom.
anteroom, and the bedroom itself is here. It's kind of nice. Kitchen, living, fine. Yeah, living becomes bigger. You can have like a whatever. Pwede, no? So kunin natin to for the bedroom. So we can do this, we can make this go down. Okay pa rin naman eh. This is pretty wide eh. This is pretty wide, it's okay. So you can have your ramp here. That's okay.
Okay.
Works for me. Question is, what do we do with this? You have such a big area here. If ever I want to build an attached building here, do I just set up here? Let's say, okay, this one can be up far away if I want. Just go here. Or not? Oh, I didn't. This can be the second phase.
What will be the typology of this project?
It can be a home office. So if you buy here, you can actually have your office here. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Diba?
You pass
You
through
already have
kitchen.
a
Oh,
Yeah.
parang okay, I have my small clinic here, and then I can have like, maybe you can even have a connection here or something like.
Yeah.
If you really want, you can connect this balcony also.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you know, that will, I think this connection element has to be optional. Maybe not here, maybe this is your
Not the
connection. So at least it's
balcony.
always outside. Right, so this is kind of like optional. So if I connect, if I buy this, I can connect. If I don't buy, then I don't. Right. So then every floor can be owned by the same owner. Because these guys will probably, and then if you say, okay, my house is too small, I'm gonna buy this to just make it my bodega or extend my house, right? So this makes sense to build eventually.
Okay.
I mean, it's possible, right? And then this is the view. This is still the main view, so your view is still this one. So going like that. That's still okay.
This is Wilson.
That's still the main view. Oh, this one is your core anyway, so this one you can actually enclose naman natin. Your core will probably be here. At most up to here, so this is your core. This is your core for this. So you still have a pretty nice solid building. Okay, you have windows on this side, windows here. You can do a firewall here if you want. If you don't want it to look, you can set it back a bit here, so you have a window here, firewall up there. We have a pretty nice space. This is a good 150 square meters. Small office. Clinic, something. And then, for the amenities, same. For the amenities, you basically will get the same thing. You can actually mix your amenities with some more, some more leasable retail type of thing. Para more exclusive, like this can be like an exclusive club or something in this area. Right, that can be something like that.
Just to take some thoughts from what you've said earlier, since we've been talking a lot about social architecture even before, how can we engage the podium design in terms of the existing environment, since nowadays podiums were just designed as podiums? Like here, we're just designing it. Okay, this is the ground floor. We're providing parkings for it. But podiums nowadays are neglected. And if there is something that we can learn from the pandemic, it is that we don't have a lot of shared spaces like the amenities. When we're talking about the podium, maybe we can use it to engage more in terms of the people using the whole structure. Also, in this kind of environment, since it's a corner lot, maybe we can do something about this area here without sacrificing too much of the leasable spaces. Because if we're kind of engaging it to the major streets, and since it's a corner lot, maybe we can do something about creating a vertical open part. It's just a visual aesthetic, but it gives something back to the community. It's not just for the users. It's inside out. It's a double-edged sword.
Well, I think we can cut it here. We can give this space so you end up with this wide space here. Right? Because we don't really need this corner. It's a useless corner. So if we're able to cut it here maybe, then we can give this like a 4-meter wide space already, right? So you can give this parking slot if you want. And then we can sort of like make this corner park here, small park. I don't know, we can put a small library here. Right? Small reading area, if we want to, we can make this a playground, this back area. But the thing is like, so one of the things that we're really looking for is we're really looking for more engagement with the street level.
Yes.
But engagement with the street level also means that you need these spaces to be activated.
Yeah.
Right? The building's not gonna run that space because that's a private building. Those are residences.
Residential.
They're not gonna. So you need tenants to actually activate your ground plane. Without the tenants,
It's dead.
it's dead, right? So that's why you need commercial space. So I think that's why you want there. But definitely you can make this interesting, like a wooden deck even or something. This area here. Yeah. I think the length allows us to do that now.
The office space.
And then because of this cut here that's diagonal anyway, we might as well just give it to them. Right there. In this area. Could work. It's wide enough actually. Yeah, this is like 150 square meters already. Could be. But I think the question really is what to do with the parking, right? I mean, it's always, parking on the podium level, but so I think that's why we have to make parkings more open, more porous. It's like how we're doing it here. Parang if we can make parking spaces that are more open, then they become more adaptive. And hopefully if the day comes where we don't need parking anymore, then this can actually be another space. Like, that's what we said about this. If I don't need one floor, I can just turn that floor into an office space, right? So I don't mind building 4 floors of parking, because at the end of the day, that parking area is an open area. Actually, one of my thoughts is like, what if we do an open gym?
Open gym.
Yeah.
Some buildings could actually do that now. They moved their gyms
Gym
from their
equipment outside. So
They moved it to the like ground floor in front of the lobby, so it's open air.
Mm-hmm.
So rather than keeping it in the normal amenity floor, they moved it down.
Actually, it's more of not really an open gym. It is an open gym, but I was thinking more of like a vertical park.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing about park space is that we think about park space as somewhere you walk, you go lag, you go around, lakad. But you can actually have recreational equipment. Diba? Yung those exercise equipment, you can have an exercise space, they can have Tai Chi, Zumba, whatever in a park space, right? So I was imagining if we can actually have a space that's about, I don't know, 6-7 meters high. It's basically an open floor, then we just have greens.
Mm-hmm.
Because like if you have a 6-7 meter high floor plate here, you can actually start planting greens. Like I said, the sunlight will hit the ground floor. And so, or if you want, you can just have, turf. But then you can have those outdoor exercise equipment. You can actually have a space for like athletics, Zumba, ganyan. And now you're saying that, okay, maybe that's how we insert more park space in the city because we don't have enough parks.
Yes, exactly.
So that's actually I'm actually thinking of doing it here. So, okay. I've been thinking about opening up this floor, just turning it into an open park. But what justifies it kasi? Right? I mean, so for example, for 12, but that's about 400 square meters. So, assuming at, 700 pesos rent, that's how much a month, right?
Yeah.
That's 280,000 pesos a
a
month.
month.
So you're gonna turn that into a park? Pwede, pero are you
Does not benefit the...
So, assuming you're so nice that you donate it to the government, you're donating it to the public, but who pays the dues?
Yeah.
Who maintains?
The users. Just kidding.
Right? That's the problem. You need maintenance.
And also, there's still a barrier to entry since it's in an upper floor.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to like go through a guard.
It's
The whole
gonna-
thing we're
it's gonna
trying to avoid.
compromise the privacy of the
Yeah,
users.
like more.
But at the same time, it will improve the podium design because podiums
Oh, yeah.
are very...
Like the banal parking
It's,
space and all
it's
that.
always neglected. But at the same time, it has the human scale. If
Well,
you're
because you
going
can
to go
actually
past
talk
it,
about going up here to the second floor and making the second
maybe,
floor a park.
maybe you can provide the public.
Right. So that becomes a public park in a way, or it can be a club.
It's a
Right?
transition
It
space.
can be like something where you have members in the area. And they have access to this park and they just, pay a fee maybe and then that
Then
makes
that
it interesting.
that maintains it, and then
Yeah,
it
that
can sustain
maintains
itself better. Yeah.
I mean,
It's excluded but merged in the building.
then it's an
nice.
asset also of the building because now you have a park in your building.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, at the end of the day, it's still a park. So that's something interesting. Maybe that can be worked out. Yeah, why not? I think that's what we did with Kilaroch.
Tahaw.
How I think we
Yeah.
have the 3-floor, kind of like a 3-floor outdoor amenity deck, where you have these actually 4 na nga siya, 4 floors of like, mixed amenities, leisure spaces, outdoor spaces, then retail. So it's almost like, pasyalan, but then it's part of the building, so it becomes an amenity also.
Also here on the typical floors, is it possible to normalize having bigger balconies? Because nowadays, balconies were designed as utility space, service space.
Yeah. I think that's the problem with balconies, right? So most owners, they try to imagine, let's say, okay, let's do what's the minimum balcony? Like 1.5 meters or 1.2 meters,
Yeah.
right?
It's aircon lang yun.
Yeah, but it becomes useless because what do you do with this? You come out here to smoke, right?
Sampay.
You put an air conditioner here, right? You put laundry. So this is actually wasted space. But when you turn this into let's say you just double it, you turn this into a 3-meter space, right? Now it becomes useful. Because what can you do with a 3-meter space? You can actually have, an outdoor sofa. It becomes a terrace garden, right? Right? You can have a smoothie table, right? So now it's a space that you actually even use more than your actual living room.
Yeah.
So it becomes a lanai in the sky, diba? So I think, but I think we need to define how big this minimum space is.
Should be.
I think we need to do a proper study on this, whether this is like 3 meters, 2.4, 3.5, 4 meters. What is the added
What is
benefit, right? So let's say you go from 3.5 meters to, for example, what we said we wanted with Wilson was we wanted it to be 8 meters, right? So we wanted to be around 8 meters. So what's the benefit? Let's say for 3.5 meters, I can have an outdoor tea table, right? So what do I get here? Do I say I now get an outdoor dining area?
Then,
Probably.
So that's something. Or do I say, if I have kids, is it now an outdoor playground? I have a playground in my own house,
That's fine.
right? So we have to define that. I think we can come up with a document on that and actually say, with this space, 1.5 meters, you're only making laundry space, Yossi space, or even an air conditioning space, right?
yeah.
But now with 3.5 meters, you can have like a small tambayan. It's a lanai.
Yeah.
With 5 meters, what can you do? Is it now a garden, a terrace garden? With 8 meters, what is it? It's now a dining room, right? It's an outdoor dining area, al fresco dining. So, we can actually, or is it even your own private gym? Right. So I think we can actually do that. Actually, that can be an interesting study where we can actually share that with everyone. Actually, right? I think that's something we can do. Maybe in one of the episodes, we can actually look at how we continue with that
Maximize the
typology.
balconies.
Yeah, see what the changes in these outdoor spaces. How does it change from a balcony to a terrace to a garden? Right. That's why I was very particular. Okay, with Wilson Gardens, we said I wanted garden terraces. I was particular that I can actually plant in that terrace, right? So it's no longer just an open deck, right? I can actually have a fish pond there if I wanted to, because if you can plant, you can have a fish pond. The same weight. You're computing the weight of water, so I can actually have a fish pond there in my deck. So those are the opportunities that you're looking for, and then I think we can do a diagram on that maybe.
Isn't that similar to metabolist architecture? Maybe during the pre-selling, they have their options. Like, if you want your unit to have a bigger balcony, this will be the look of it.
Well, metabolism is about being able to kind of like expand, like it expands modularly, right?
Yeah.
But this one, it's not about expanding. I think it's more about like saying, well, it's a side study to this project where you're actually studying what the balcony is, right? You're saying that you can have, what are the available outdoor spaces or available outdoor vertical spaces? I think we have to define that. Also, like it can be north facing, can be south facing.
Yeah, that's right.
What's the sunlight that you're gonna get? What's the quality of
Air.
air? At what floor does it become? And I think it can be a whole exploration of vertical open spaces, because even the office I was thinking of doing it. Diba?
But
Parang
what if
that's
we
something.
do something even more radical? Like, I remember we were talking about it in Silhouette. What if we remove the wall altogether and it just becomes one big
That's
open
an option.
space? Yeah.
That's an action, but I think that is an option for the user. That is an option for the user to do. For example, this one, you can just say
Yeah.
this is
a
just
colonnade, yeah.
a plantation window, right? And everything is open. That's certainly doable. I mean, even with Wilson Gardens, I mean, we can do that for the entire, because it doesn't affect your facade anyway. It's so deep, but the terrace is so big that it doesn't matter if you change that element. So, but that's for the user to change, and I think we can do an option for Wilson Gardens with that. We can do like an outdoor deck option. What's the floor plan for this? We can. Pwede, no?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can actually do that here because this project, we're in charge. So we can actually get that. No, we can actually open this as an option, where you actually have a lanai deck now.
You have a bigger area.
So now that it's an entire open space, then you can actually have your dining space here for all you want. Right?
Isn't that what we intended to do for the house one of Caliraya?
Yeah.
It's similar.
Yeah, but I mean now you're in a vertical space,
Yeah.
which makes it interesting. Or everything can just collapse here. They can just like slide everything here. Right? They can just slide everything here like this.
I think this is better.
So now this
The
is the entire
bifold,
open
according
space.
to
Yeah, the bifold kasi it's it kinda blocks also the views.
Now you have this big space. It's fun now if you have your family over, you can actually have this like entertaining space here. Which is kind of cool.
But I really like the location of this because it's facing southwest. it blocks the sun. It's almost 6 meters deep, 5 to 6 meters.
Just 8.
Can do a
It
lot.
becomes its own eve. Yeah.
Yeah. And the continuous trees and it's alternating.
Yeah, I think that's really what makes this project like.
It's very
Like,
unique.
it's actually what we have outside the office, right? Where you actually can like, if you see here. So like the idea is that you're living on this floor and you're seeing the canopies of the floor below you. So the trees are supposed to go up here. Well, this doesn't show, but the trees are supposed to go up here. So every floor will see the canopy of the floor below it. So this floor sees the canopy of this tree. Yeah, you have to change this ones.
That's what you do.
It's just, I don't think Joe got it. That I think we want our canopies up to here. So someone standing here is actually enjoying this canopy.
The plant of other people.
Yeah.
For me, it's kind of way of
No, I actually want to
communication.
be. Yeah, it's a shared. It's
Mhm.
like
Shared,
it says you're a community.
Without
right?
compromising your space.
Yeah, parang like
It's just there.
like you're saying that you're sharing the natural element,
Mhm.
right? So it becomes like a small
And
community.
it kind of motivates you to have a better tree.
Yeah.
Because as Filipinos,
Well, no, we're
Your neighbors
we're
fix it.
planting those trees
Yeah.
before they even come in.
Mhm.
So I want. Well, they have the option of changing it definitely, but I think the idea is that we'll plant it in before they come in, so that it actually is already there.
And I think another thing would be nice. That would be nice is like, since like us three, we sit beside the window, right? And it's always nice looking at birds and like wildlife that goes through it. And then imagine having a
Yeah.
bird perch on top of your neighbor's tree, and it's actually on your sideline, because it's the top of the canopy, and like you're literally having breakfast.
I was
or,
able.
like,
I was able to get 2 parrots.
exactly like through your balcony. So
through my balcony.
Mhm.
I mean,
I think that like experientially, that's
yeah.
like, part
Well,
of
we
your
can
hobby.
actually keep birds there and let them just kind of like grow. But yeah, so I think it should be interesting once we finalize. I think that balcony space here
Mhm.
in Wilson Gardens, and so we can do this kind of like. I think we should do that. We should do this study of like what an outdoor vertical space means and what are the different iterations that we can come up with. In terms of like it can range from 3 meters to 20. I mean, for example, if it's in the podium, right? It's a deck or it's a roof deck. What can we do with 300 square meter space, right? Versus a 10 or a 20 or a 50. You can just do like 10, 20, 50, whatever. Well, you start with 5 with the typical 1.5 by 3 meter balcony, right?
Like to work on that.
And then so you
because
go
I
from
have that.
5, 10,
Yeah.
20, 40, or 50, and then 100 square meters or 200, even 300 square meters. Then we can start to see, what the available vertical open spaces can become for the city. And I think that should be for the next episode. And so, yeah, thanks for joining us, everyone. And hopefully you join us again for the next episode, because we look forward to being better at what we're doing and actually saying that see you again next time.
Bye guys.